All right, what's going on, guys and gals? Today on Vehicles and Videos, we are talking about Brinton. What are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about the Corvette C5 and C6 in particular. And we also threw in the Cadillac CTS-V for good measure. Similar powertrains, same year, generation. So we kind of lump it all in one.
Yeah, so when we picked, this was one of my picks, and the Cadillac really was the like that was the pick more over the Corvette, but a Corvette is also a great option here too. Brinton, first thoughts on the Cadillac and or Corvette? Like what's out
All right.
taking the drift aspect out of it,
Yeah, yeah,
first thoughts
taking
on the car.
so 100% like right off the bat when the CTS-V came out, it was supposed to be in competition with like European sports saloons. That was like what they were going after. They were going after you know, the AMG Mercedes, they're going up to the MBMWs, that type car, and it does have heated and cooled seats. It has suede interior. It has some nice features to it because it's a Cadillac and it was a luxury sedan. So it's definitely a vehicle that you could drive every single day, especially if you live in a climate where you don't get like snow and things like that, where you're worried about those type conditions. So the Cadillac is a daily drivable car that is insanely fun to drive. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. If you look at the interior of these cars, I mean, let me try and bring it up really quick, but it is a
Yeah,
pretty
for a 20-year
deluxe
like, so the
interior.
first gen came out almost 20 years ago, and in my opinion, it holds up pretty good to this day for a fun car, and you can find plenty of them out there with 50,000, 20,000, 30,000 miles on it that people were just using them on the weekends. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
you know,
I mean,
I mean
there's tons of buttons on the steering wheel. I think it scrolled through like oil temps, engine temps, like stuff like that. There's a bunch of those options that you could kind of scroll through on the display. This was like a great. This looks like a good picture here for the interior. I mean,
but
even
is that
the info. I searched Gen One, so this should be the
yeah.
original.
I thought the Gen 1, though, had the flip up screen like that 3rd picture there. Looks
Oh, maybe.
but, yeah, I mean, I don't yeah, that's what I know I've that interior is more of what I was picturing in my head, so I'm not 100% sure what generation that is, but, yeah, that does that I could get in that and drive that every day,
Yeah. Well, this one
to
here
this day.
says reviews 2026. The one I clicked on.
Yeah,
This one's a 2004.
okay.
Not the greatest picture, but 2004 was the first of the Gen 1. Now I'm gonna refer to the Gen 1 a lot in this conversation. The Generation 1 CTS-V came with a six-speed manual, and the rest, I think, were, mostly automatics, whatever else.
Yeah. And you could get a wagon, four-door, or just the, sedan.
Yeah,
Production numbers were very, very low, all things considered.
and the two-door, let's just look it up.
So coupe, yeah.
Yeah, the two-door looks freaking
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
I knew a coworker that he had this, but it was like the 3.6 liter. It was a base model. Maybe it wasn't the base model. I can't remember, but I seem to think it was. But um, at the time, I mean, murdering everything out was huge, right? So like
Mhm.
he had something like this, which was just black on black on black, right? Tinted windows and all that stuff. I mean, it has a sleek look, just like you said. I mean,
Yeah,
you
well,
can kind.
I think what they did to make it look so edgy is how squared off certain grills, body panels, and different lines were, but the whole body itself was sleek. Is that you said it looks sleek, but it has a lot of sharp edges to it.
Oh, yeah, and I think it's these, like, the headlights and the taillights are kinda square, right? So you can
Yeah,
kinda see the headlights there,
yeah.
and the taillights here, that's a 2015, so that's a little bit later, but you can see how kinda square they are. Alright, so we talked about first thoughts on the car. Pretty cool car. I do remember it coming out, and like you said, it was really stated as, like, a fast luxury car, right? I thought it was an interesting because at the time, I mean, I feel like the just previous Cadillac, I mean, it was like a I don't know, it was kinda like a Lincoln, like the Lincolns and Cadillacs, they had similar lines, they weren't really like, they're big, spacious,
Mhm.
but they're just kinda like American luxury rather than, European luxury, and, I don't know, like, it was just especially the two-door when it came out, it was really nice looking, and then alright,
Yeah, so
so
when
now
Cadillac just to follow up on that, yeah, when Cadillac did decide to go with that body style, they were 100% looking to get into a younger car purchaser. They realized that they're literally selling to people that are dying, so they needed to get to a younger crowd, and that they purposely that when they did that, that was to get to a younger generation with that look.
and, you talked about getting to the dude, you literally just said they were selling to people that were dying, and when I was looking these up, I came across a Cadillac Hertz.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's funny because when I was like looking up stuff, I was like, man, we didn't put a drift Hertz on the hearse on the list, but
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool. Yeah.
that would be yeah, I'm sure it's been done.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so let's transition that first thoughts into second thoughts. Now, if we're talking about using this as a drift car, what are your thoughts there? And let's bring it up. I'm gonna bring up
So
just
personally, only because of the way they are. They're heavy because they are luxury. There's plenty of power, so they will drift fine, but it is more of like in my opinion, a universal car. If you wanted to hit a couple track events, if you wanted to hit the drag strip with it, if you wanted to do some yay, if you wanted to do any of those things, this car could do everything and have fun. And it's not going to be last and it's not going to be first, but you're going to go out there and have a great time in any event you did.
yeah,
So, and you can drive it there and back and you can drive it to work. So that's my opinion of the
sure.
car. It's going to be comfortable. If you wanted to, you could throw, you know, a couple of people in it. If you got the coupe, the sedan, you could sit in there comfortably. So, um, it's a well-rounded vehicle that if you wanted to, you can make better at what you're choosing to do with it.
Yeah, like I said, the four-door, it's a great looking sedan. Here's one drawback, and, let me just share this. The seats. So the seats were goofy, and they had the seat belt attached to the seats. So they were, like, very American, like, puffy
See, I don't know,
seats.
is that just the Gen
The
1s?
the
Because I
Gen
don't
1
really
yeah, the Gen 1 had the
I
seat
mean,
belts
hmm,
attached to the seats.
I feel like
So
that's such a 90s thing. I don't really feel like that was yeah,
yeah. So when that happens, when you change the seats or whatever else,
yeah.
you
Your
lose your
anchor
seat
point on
belts.
the B pillar, there's nothing
Yes,
there. You
right.
gotta come up with a whole different solution there. So,
Like some
yeah,
some sort of hoop or something, and then you lose the back seats.
I mean, 100% Cadillac did that in the 90s. I've been in plenty of that generation Cadillac, and I can't remember the last time a Cadillac had a seat in the seat belt in the seat.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure you could find a way to, create an anchor point on
yeah,
the B pillar, but, what's many times interesting is, I mean, going back to the Tacoma, a lot of times why they don't want trucks is because trucks are on a frame, and a lot of these cars that we're talking about are unibodies, right? So unibodies crumple, whereas the truck frame doesn't. So it's like so I could see a world where you start to modify the B pillar too much. You could maybe fail tech potentially. I
okay,
don't know.
yeah,
Just because the seatbelt isn't latched in right.
right, right, yeah. I mean, that could be a potential issue, but
Yeah,
I
or
think maybe that was only the 1st gen, so maybe we'd have to look at a
yeah,
newer
I
one.
and I did kind of stick to the first gen
Yeah,
simply because of the manual
yeah.
transmission. I
Oh, okay.
found like my thinking here is again, we're looking for that vehicle, that blanket vehicle that's like you toss a couple of modifications on, basically coils, a seat, maybe a
Mhm,
steering wheel, and an angle kit, and we're drifting, right? Like
right.
we not that we have to limit it to those mods, but we're kind of like I feel like those are very very entry level mods that we're not gonna be chasing the next big mod. And sorry, I got somebody in chat. So, again, the more you modify a car, the more it becomes, is it you or is it the modification that's missing? Is it oh, you know what, once I get this, it's gonna be more rigid. Once I do that, it's gonna be it
Yeah. Well, I mean, they made that car, and it when it came out, it tested extremely well around all the racetracks. It was, they drag race. They did everything they could to put it through its paces, and that car held its own, and
yeah.
it made a name for itself very, very well. So,
And that's one of the things I like about it because, like, it seems like everybody just does an LS swap, right? An LS swap is like, "Oh, you want more power?
yeah.
Just put an LS in it." It has the LS in it, right?
Yeah,
It
well,
actually
and it
came
has a super well, so you did more of the generations. I didn't look at it it's exactly what engine. I do remember that having the supercharged, um, LS1 in it, so 500
yeah,
and something
so
550 horsepower, yeah.
right, so Gen 1 came with a 5.7-liter LS6, which was a V8, which was the same as the, C5 Corvette, 400 horsepower, and that was mated up to the Tremeric,
Yep,
TRE
Tremec,
Tremec
yep,
56 six-speed transmission.
yeah,
Um, 385 foot-pounds of torque at 4,800 RPMs. Actually, I think Redline was a little bit low in that. It was because you hit 400 horsepower at, like, 6,000 RPMs.
right, right. Well, V8 back then, it wasn't until till Ford really started doing the dual overhead cams and the Cobra motors and things where they started raising the
Mhm.
RPMs, and there was other engines where they started raising the RPMs more, but, yeah, think about it, up until this point, V8s weren't high revving engines for sure. This was the start of bringing the horsepower higher, yeah. I mean, bringing the RPM higher and having a higher horsepower at those race rev engine speeds, you know?
Very true, yeah. I didn't look up Redline for a Corvette. Let me look that up really quick.
Yeah, do with the second so, like, 2001 is when, like, they made some improvements on the C5.
Yeah,
So, the reality is if you do want to vet, I would say go C5 or go a C5 2001 or newer.
6,500 RPMs.
Right, okay. So
Yeah, I'm gonna do a C6. C6 was 6,500 RPMs as well.
So, but I don't know if how often you drive a V8, but I will tell you, anything over 4,000 feels like you're screaming, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like it's yeah.
Well, I mean, you drive a lot of four bangers. Anything over 4,000 is screaming.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It sounds like ludicrous speed.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, if you went with, like you said, you knew someone that had a CTS, but, more of a base model, you get that look and everything, but the powertrain in them just wasn't powerful enough to make a drift car out of it, or at least a fun drift car. You can get them for very, very reasonable price points, $3,000,
Yeah.
things like that. They're gonna be automatic, they're gonna have a V6 in it. So,
Well,
if
even
you
even the V8, the CTS-V. Now, I had a hard time coming across them, but you could still the one I found was like 4,500.
a CTS-V for 4,500 bucks?
Yeah, it might have been mislabeled. I don't know, but
Yeah, no.
it's like you get like three and a
I
half
couldn't find
pictures in
one
these
worth
things.
buying for less than, like, 25.
Yeah.
So
Well,
25 was kinda where you're at for something worth buying
and then
on a
talking
s
about Corvettes, like with the Corvettes, it's the same thing. I mean, when I started looking up C5 or like Z06 Corvettes, so like same engine,
well,
just different chassis, right? That's when I really started to look at like a $35,000 car.
yeah, so correct, but the thing about you gotta think about the Corvette is it's much lighter,
Yeah.
um, and it is a little bit it's geared different, it's everything about the Corvette is more sporty, the suspension's already tighter.
Yeah.
So you don't need to go the Z06, you could go a base model Corvette. I would say, like, I found several, 2001 and newer C5s and C6s in the 12 grand price range that I thought were something I would buy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I found when I my search on in the Corvette world, almost everything was automatic.
Yeah, but you see, the good thing about those automatics are there's so many of them out there that you can actually make um, make them almost like an manual automatic. So you can just select the
Oh,
gear
interesting.
and you can shift through them, and you can have the gear shift so hard, and you can
Mm,
hold second gear and you can drift them around a course. You're like in your when you're drifting, you're going to be in second gear the whole time. So an
yeah.
automatic might almost be easier because in that car, you just put it in second gear and you just
Yeah,
run the
just
whole
go.
track. Yeah. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. One less thing to have to worry about. You just put it in second gear and just roast the tires the whole way, yeah.
So I know you said the Corvette is a lot lighter. The CTS-V comes in at 3,800 pounds. I didn't
Okay,
get the weight for the Corvette. Outside of weight, where I'm going with this is the CTS, the 0 to 60 was like 4.6,
okay.
but the Corvette 0 to 60 wasn't that much faster. I mean, when you're getting into like 4-second 0 to 60s, I guess it is a lot faster.
Yeah,
It was like a flat 4 or 4.2 seconds for the 0 to 60.
right, right. And obviously when you're drifting, 0 to 60 doesn't matter.
Y Yeah, I mean, I'm just
It's your
kinda using that
ability
as,
to
like, a little bit of a benchmark, right?
yes, yeah,
How quickly can you get like, can you punch it, get out, get
yeah,
up to speed, you know? Uh, I don't know, I mean, it's tough to come up with, at what metric do you do you compare these with, you know? The, um the wheelbase of this car is a little bit longer of 113, so it is the longest wheelbase I think we've
okay, yeah, 113 is a pretty considerable wheelbase for um, a sports car for sure, so it's like you said, it's a sports sedan. I don't know,
yeah,
if
I'm
it
trying to look up
was
the Corvette really quick.
if I were to go this route, I would probably go CTS-V if I could find one for 22 to 24,000 because they're so badass, and I would be fine getting an automatic, and I would go the newest model year, and if it had 120,000 miles on it, I wouldn't care. You know what I mean? I'm not looking for a cream puff with 30,000 miles on it. I would go high mileage and just beat the crap out of it, and everything's GM, relatively easy to if something breaks, you get something from a junkyard or you rebuild it or whatever you gotta do.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I actually liked is that, like you said, it's the parts should be a little bit more readily accessible. Now, as far as the CTS, the harder part might be the body panels and stuff like that. I mean, I guess there's plenty of the base models, right?
Right. Yeah.
And there's not a lot of changes there, but and you're, potentially, depending upon what you're figuring out with the seat belts and whatever else, you're potentially stripping the interior, at least the seats, probably cutting a little bit of weight there. But the Corvette, the C5 Corvette, though, does have, almost 10 inches shorter with their wheelbase, and it puts it closer in that ideal wheelbase range for drifting.
Oh, okay.
The Corvette so here's where I'm at, right? And we've kinda talked about this. Corvette, two-seater car, little bit smaller. When I've driven a C7, I really, really, really didn't like the seating position. Don't know how it would, I don't know how a fixed back or racing seat would fit in there, and I'd feel comfortable,
Yeah.
especially with the
But you
helmet
don't I
and
don't
the
really know if you need a rate like a Corvette. That would not be where I would go is, like, changing out the seats and stuff like that. I not right
okay,
away. I feel like most Corvettes that I've been in, first of all, I'm all torso, like we've already talked about 100 times.
yeah.
I do never like you mentioned, I don't particularly feel comfortable in most Corvettes that I've been in. That I never feel like I can see out the windows. I never feel like I can gauge the corners. I feel like for whatever reason, the hood feels like it's way bigger than it is. So, it's always something you get used to the more you drive it. But when you're driving someone else's car and, whatever,
Yeah.
you can't, you're more cautious. But yeah, the Corvette to me has its place. And I've driven several of them. But I never really truly got comfortable driving it. But I've never really been in a CTS-V that I can remember. But I've been in plenty of Cadillacs of this generation, the CTSs and other models, and it's more of a car that you get in and you're comfortable right away, which is like seating position and all that stuff is important. So
Absolutely, and that's like, the one thing that I like the CTS over the Corvette. I mean, yeah, I mean, this one picture here that I have up in the right, the black and the red
yeah.
one, I don't know why, it does kind of remind me some of the styling of some of the better pictures we saw of the Lexus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Maybe it's just a four-door aspect, but it does remind me a little bit of
Yeah.
the Lexus of the four-door. Now, we've talked about a couple of cars so far, in our previous podcasts. We're knocking down our list. We talked about the Lexus, the Tacoma, and the RX-8. Where would you put this on that list now?
So we're more so the CTS-V.
I mean, I think this is we talked earlier off broadcast, like, do we talk about them together or separate? And I think this might be where we separate them, right?
Okay, yeah, so the CTS-V, I would definitely put if budget was no option or was, like, less of a value where it is right now. I don't
Okay.
their production numbers are lower, so price points like, there's no drift tax. This isn't a drift car, but it
Yeah.
is a unique car that does have they're kinda got to a certain point and they're holding. They're not, production
Yeah, I
numbers were
mean,
low enough that it's holding its value, which makes sense because it is a very cool car. I would be comfortable if I found the right one and I wasn't even gonna drift it. If someone approached me with a really good price on one of these, I would buy one just to have it. Yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Well, we all know you enjoy cars
yeah,
and just collect them.
yeah.
So, you'd probably buy it just to, like, take up room on your lot.
No, I'm getting I've well, we can have a whole episode of me clearing out my lot, but yes, things are we had a pretty big snowstorm and a lot of cancellations, so we're making
Cool.
progress on that front, yeah.
Perfect. Great, great. So let's see. For my list, I really like the looks of this car, but I was thinking about it is like, am I more interested in what we talked about with the RX-8 over this, or am I more interested in this? And I think you're right. I think it does fit where it is. Now, the Corvette, I think the Corvette has a Corvette factor, right? Like growing up, what kid didn't want a Corvette?
Right.
Especially at least an American kid, right, that grows up on V8s and American Muscle. But I think just purely, like, seat factor, like, like we talked about, I think the Corvette might be higher up on my list
Mhm,
just because of how the cockpit would be laid out for me. I just don't
mhm.
think I mean, you're right, outside of the seat, like, I just never felt comfortable in a Corvette, driving a Corvette. So I think that one might go higher up on my list. Uh, anyway, where else? I think we've covered a lot here. The pros and cons, I guess, would be the last little bit that we're at. We've kind of talked about some pros and cons personally. Really quick, if you were to get this, do you think this would be a better, I mean, I think you even said it, but do you think this would be a better option for like maybe a track car rather than a drift car? Or do you think this would be
I'll be honest, this is a car, and to just repeat what I said earlier, you could because of its potential, you could take it to the drag strip on Friday night, and then Saturday morning, you could wake up early and do a SCCA solo drift, and then Sunday, you could take to SCCA solo, and then Sunday, you could take it drifting. In 3 days, you could do 3 different events with this car. And then you could drive to work on Monday. You might have to change the tires for the different events, but other
yeah.
than changing the tires, you realistically, it could do everything, and it's not gonna be last and it's not gonna be first, and quite honestly, it's right up there in my mind with some of the BMW M's, as far as, like, its potential of however you set it up, you can make it your ideal vehicle. I would definitely if the right one came along for the right price, I think this is a pretty high contender. But it is a nice car, and it does demand that price point that I think is a scooch outside the play money where we're at right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess really what I was asking is, like you said, it can do multiple different things. And in a weekend you could potentially do 3 different events. But my question was, do you see one of those events being more popular with this car versus drifting?
Oh, yeah.
That's really my question. Like, with the Lexus, for instance, we decided that that would probably make a really good endurance car.
Yeah, yeah. I think, quite honestly, this car is probably best at the drag strip, but I don't know that for a fact.
I think Friday night date night, cruise night.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably put, every small town in America has a main street. You could probably put a loud exhaust on it and drive down the
Yeah.
main street and rev the exhaust, and it might get some panties wet. I have no idea. But,
It could be boxers. You don't know.
it could be, yeah, it could be. Yeah, it probably gets more attention from guys, yeah.
Yeah.
Where it sits, that's the thing is I don't really think it has one spot. That's
Yeah.
my opinion. I don't really know if I don't know the car or the group enough. Maybe I'll have to buy one and join a CTS club, CTS-V club.
And, I mean, even as I ask the question, I'm sitting here like, how do I answer this question, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are my thoughts on the car?
Yeah. So here's my thought. So, like,
Okay.
the Corvette is white socks, New Balance,
Hey, you wear
or
New
like
Balance.
jean shorts. Well, yeah, yeah. This car is probably not New Balance. You're definitely dressed differently when you're buying this car than any typical Corvette purchaser.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the car. I like sedans. I like 4 doors, right? But I don't know. I mean, I think this would be what this car would be great for? Like a cannonball run.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
It could be up there on that and a contender for that.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you said, you're not gonna be first, you're not gonna be last, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna set a record, but I think this would be a cool cannonball run car. I think that's where I would place this car, right? Like, might not be the best drift car. Like I said, you could take it to the drag strip. You could do
Yeah.
like a road course or whatever with it. I think it's too rare to find, and I mean, maybe you could set it up for, like, an endurance race, but, I think there's better options for the endurance races, so I probably wouldn't even put it there, but I like that 1 lap or not 1 lap, cannonball run or
Okay. Yeah.
gumball or whatever they're calling it. I think
Yeah.
that's where I would put this is like, yeah, it's not super luxury, but, you know, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah. So having you said that and then making me evaluate the car, like as far as like the driftability, just that factor alone, I don't really see drifting being its highest potential. But if you were more so into drag racing, I think this one would be it.
Alright, did you come across any pros or cons of the car? Like, more
Not
maybe
no, the only con is the production numbers are low, and with low production numbers creates scarcity, which creates prices, but I didn't think the prices were horrible. I found plenty of them in the 20 something $1,000 price range. So, if you're looking for 500 horsepower for $20,000, you haggle and you can, you might end up with, a decent car with 60, 70, 80,000 miles on it, which I think realistically is it's going to be way more reliable than any German car with that kind of horsepower, in my opinion.
that's true. So the few things that I've kinda come across is this is also unique enough of a drift car that there's this support on the drift end, but the pieces seem to be a little bit, they're a little bit more one-off. They're, maybe only
Yeah,
one brand. You're limited to, like, one brand makes options for, like, angle kits or whatever else.
yeah.
It might be a little bit more than that. I didn't do a super deep dive, but they also seemed a little bit more expensive than some of the other cars we've talked about. I mean,
Well, I
maybe the
mean,
Tacoma would
yeah,
would
they
be
they
a little bit
only
up there, but
made 10,000 Gen 1 CTS-Vs. So the entire Gen 1, they only made 10,000 of them. So, like, if you're making a custom part and trying to sell them, it's not a huge
yeah,
demographic. Now, the CT or sorry, CT. So just to compare it to the Corvettes, they made something like a quarter million
yeah,
of the C5. You're talking 250,000. So,
right.
as
So a
far
little
as
bit
the
easier
exact
to get that
powertrain,
aftermarket.
yeah.
Yeah, a little bit easier to get that aftermarket support for a vehicle that has that many production value. I
Yeah.
mean, quite frankly, too, like when we talked about other usage of this car, right? When you're looking at the Corvette, I would say that most people are probably buying the Corvette to either, you know, I shouldn't say most. A lot of people are buying the Corvette to drag, to get on a road race course, or like, I mean, isn't there a Corvette club that also ends up doing like SCCA style events, and they do laps and whatever else. So there's a lot of pre-existing race history with a Corvette and
I just don't
aftermarket
know
support because of
anybody
that.
I just don't know anybody younger than 60 that owns a Corvette.
Yeah. Well, so I
But
was gonna say a friend of
but
mine does,
I
but it's
guarantee
because
you
his
the
dad.
CTS-V, they're probably
Yeah.
in their 30s or 40s, which, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And that's just the kinda stigma that is around it. There's obviously exceptions to the rule, but that's the type of person the car that goes after those cars, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So I think for both of us, either the Cadillac or the Corvette is a swing and a miss,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I think you put it the best, which is if you found a CTS-V for the right price in manual, you'd get it.
but
And
I
that's,
don't know if I would get it for drifting. I would just get it because it's a cool
yeah.
car to, like, just check off. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, yeah, yeah. All right, cool. Well, I think that about wraps up this episode of Vehicles and Videos. Next week we are talking about the BRZ.
Alright.
I'm a little bit behind on the editing, so hopefully these things will come out soon. But yeah, the BRZ. I'm excited to see what you come up with, and what's we got all the there's three versions, right? There's the Subaru version, there's the Scion version, and then there's the Toyota version.
Well, no, I only know the 2. I didn't even know Scion didn't make a BRZ
Yeah,
version,
they
did they?
did. Yeah.
Alright, I learned something today.
I think the Toyota version was like the same chassis, maybe different motor, but the Scion was literally the BRZ.
Oh,
We'll talk about
alright.
it more
Yeah,
next week.
yeah, we'll dive in.
Yeah. Yeah,
Alright.
FRS. It's the FRS.
Okay. Yep, I kinda remember that now.
Yeah. I don't
Alright.
is Scion even a vehicle company anymore?
Scion no, no, no. That I don't mm-mm, no. I can't remember when they went out, but I haven't seen anything newer than, like, a 2014 Scion. So
Yeah, well,
maybe
I guess we'll talk about that next week too.
alright, we'll figure out the done date on them.
Yeah. All right. Well, listeners, thanks for tuning in. Viewers, thanks for watching. You can catch us on YouTube if you want, or tune in Thursdays on Spotify and give a listen.
Alright.
Until
Maybe
next
next
time,
time I'll play the ukulele for you guys.
there you go.
Click on this to subscribe.
Did
Don't
you
forget
just
to
say
like and
plick?
follow.
Did you say plick on this?
Yeah, click.
All right.